One of the things that's the most fun about being a fan of the UFC is sitting back in our armchairs and telling the promotion how it is they should be running their business, the changes they need to implement, the moves they need to make.
When the PlayStation 1 came out, what would be wicked would be if they brought out something that was better, and then 2 years later what come out?
Right.
PlayStation 2.
Right.
How does you think they got the idea from me?
Because of course, we've got it all figured out and we know better than them. Look at today's video like one of those business armchair sessions we've all had. These are the things I want to see from the promotion in the next year. This is the stuff I would do if Dana came to me like Willy Wonka and said, Charlie, you're in charge of the UFC now, so do as you please. And this is exactly what I'd please and what I think needs to get done. I'm Tommy from MMA On Point. A massive year-end shout out to our awesome channel Hall of Famers, and these are 10 things the UFC should do in 2025, but probably won't. Number 10, Tom Aspinall for gold. Yep, we're going here right away. Not to mention, it's probably the only thing on this list that will actually happen in 2025. At least I certainly hope. Can you imagine if we go into 2026 and Tom Aspinall has still not had an undisputed heavyweight title bout? The absolute revolt from fans. It would be French Revolution shit. But no, if I got to be in charge, he's getting the shot immediately, and it better be against John Jones. Now, I understand that maybe John doesn't want to do it, but if I had the reins at UFC HQ, I'm guessing I could get enough zeros on the contract for him to change his mind.
That is such a big number, couldn't fit it that way.
It should be against Jones, but if it's not going to be, it's time to either strip or vacate, and I wouldn't just put Aspinall in the next bout for the title against whoever is the other top contender. I would upgrade him to undisputed and let him make his first defense, or rather his second defense, I suppose, since he's already done so with his interim title. And if you don't think that counts, at least his opponent wasn't coming off a 4-year layoff. But yeah, no brainer for 2025. Dude's gotta fight for the strap, and while we're at it, number 9, get Ngannou back.
He can't do that!
Alright, so while Aspinall versus Jones happening is the priority and has to happen over anything else, the UFC could in 2025 get Francis Ngannou back. And this isn't some silly fantasy idea here either. Apparently the Predator has potentially 1 fight left on his PFL contract, maybe 2, meaning he could be a free agent as early as this next year. If the UFC weren't the UFC, which in this instance unfortunately they are, this would be such an awesome scenario. To have Ngannou return, the lineal champion of the whole damn sport, the heavyweight king who never lost his crown, back in that whole ass messy mix with Jones and Aspinall. I would absolutely love it. Now, as I said, given their bad blood, the chances of this actually happening in 2025 is, I'm gonna guess, 0.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
But that said, if we can't go that route, some kind of cross-promotional bout between Ngannou and the winner of Jones versus Aspinall would be one of the biggest fights hands down the sport has ever seen. I hate that everything I'm talking about right now is never gonna happen. Number 8, get out of the Apex. If I were in charge in 2025, one of the very first things I'm doing is getting out of the Apex Center. It was a vital piece of their pandemic era product, and I get that it saves them a ton in production costs. But God, it's so bland now. It's just so boring. The idea of an Apex card is now getting a reputation with fans that it doesn't matter, that it's gonna suck. And a lot of times, you guys do just throw your worst at the Apex. Knock that shit off in 2025. You used to have a permanent road schedule, and you can do it again. The novelty of that place has worn off entirely. Use it for the Contender Series. Use it for the Ultimate Fighter. I'm tired of watching actual fights that matter in the tiny cage in your little warehouse attached to the office. Not only would it be great for the fans at home who watch all 40+ cards each year, but with an expanded roadshow, you can start going to markets again that have been neglected by you guys because they're not going to provide record-breaking gates. Which, speaking of those gates, number 7, lower the damn ticket prices. Now, I already know that some of you are thinking, what kind of nonsense is this, Tommy? This is a free market. The market determines the prices. What company wouldn't charge more if they could make more?
Black leather gloves.
I mean, the UFC is making records at the gate almost every time, and you want to lower the prices? Are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy, and here's why I would totally lower the ticket prices if I was in charge. First of all, the UFC's live gates make up about 10% of their yearly revenue, okay? So we're not talking about a huge piece of the pie. And secondly, under my management, you're probably gonna make the same amount of money, if not more actually, because, remember, I'm getting us out of the Apex in 2025. That's like 20 more gates you're getting on the year, so you can afford to lower the prices. And you can still have your huge cards here and there that cost a college tuition to go to. But again, why lower the prices? Because you're pricing out a huge chunk of your actual audience. And your shit is hot right now, but everything goes in cycles, and a more reasonable price that matches up with the people who truly appreciate your product makes so much more sense. Sure, the hardcore fans will take a second mortgage out to go see you now, but they won't always. You're telling me Dana's not gonna get all kinds of praise if he comes out and goes on a big rant about how he wants everybody to be able to come to his shows? It is a winning move and one they need to make in 2025. Number 6, relax footage usage policies. Okay, so on the surface, you might be looking at this entry and immediately assuming, well, this is just because you're a content creator and you want to be able to make videos with UFC footage in it. How does this affect the average fan? This isn't something anybody actually cares about.
I don't give a fuck.
And to that I say, you're wrong. I think the UFC allowing the usage of their footage on social media and in produced online content would be hugely beneficial to the fans and to the UFC itself. So yes, it would benefit me specifically to be able to show you all the UFC footage I want.
Oh, look at that.
But it would also create so much more high quality content that fans really want to see, which would encourage more and better creators to get involved. And so now you, the fan, get a ton more really interesting stuff to watch, which only deepens your fandom. Same thing with fans getting to post knockouts and all kinds of stuff on social media. It only drives up engagement to the brand. Look at like the NBA, they're way more lax on this stuff, and I think it's created a much richer culture of fans around the sport who are more deeply involved. And here's the other thing, what hurt would it be for the UFC to do this? They're stuck in their traditional media understanding of footage usage. Pirates are going to take your stuff no matter what, guys. It's not going to change who is buying the cards, but it will drive up engagement with the UFC product all over the internet, which is only going to bring more eyes and more money. Hearing Ari and Dana talk about this kind of stuff, we're not getting this change in 2025 or 2055, but if they better understood the internet, they'd have done it years ago. Number 5, redesign the gloves. Again.
Get back in there! You're not done?
Tell them, Joe. Man, I cannot begin to tell you how much this whole glove situation has rubbed me the wrong way.
He rubs you guys the wrong way?
When the UFC announced them, I was so hyped. I thought, damn, everything they're talking about changing makes so much sense, and they've been testing them on the Contender Series. This is awesome, about damn time.
We don't want to change the nature of the sport, but we absolutely want to enhance the form, the fit, and the performance of the glove for the athletes.
But then everybody lost their minds. First, because it didn't seem like there were enough knockouts, even though the data set wasn't anywhere near large enough. And then John Jones went and got the gloves changed, so now we're going back to the old ones. Now, this is nonsense. Get your ass back in the lab and make a better MMA glove. How is this hard?
Get back in there!
I know Rogan always goes on about Trevor Whitman's design, so there's an option. And it would get fans and Joe to stop mentioning them every time the gloves are brought up. Or, you know, lots of people really like the Pride FC gloves. I don't know what the solution is, but there's gotta be gloves that can be designed that still allow for all the action we love, but help prevent all these damn eye pokes and unnecessary cuts. It sounds like the UFC has just abandoned this project like New Coke, which sucks, but nope, if I was in charge in 2025, it would be back to the lab again, yo. Number 4, release Conor.
What?
As Coach Boone said to Bertier and Remember the Titans, sometimes you gotta cut a man loose. And in 2025, I think it would be best for both parties if the UFC went ahead and released Conor from his contract. The thing is, the UFC does not need him anymore. They've grown so far beyond that relationship with him. Now their brand is just making money hand over fist, no matter who is headlining. Sure, his big gates and big pay-per-view bumps would be great, but when are those coming exactly? For whatever reason, be it Conor or the UFC or some combination of both, the man never fights. And if he does again this decade, is it going to be the draw it once was? The apathy towards Conor's career from the fan base, to me, has reached its peak. They simply do not seem to care anymore. That magical 2016 aura is almost a decade out now, and I don't think most fans think it's coming back. Maybe Khabib said it best, nobody has two primes. And Conor clearly wants to do other things that I would imagine his contract does not allow. So let him go do those things. But the constant distraction and the dragging along over the last few years has become so tiresome as a fan. Dana will never do it because the guys who make him the most money he feels some kind of loyalty to, but it would be best for everybody if he let him go at this point. Number 3, earlier cards. This is like the simplest thing ever, but I swear to God, it would make everyone's life infinitely better. Just start every card 2 hours earlier. It's such a tiny change. People in EST would be ending pay-per-views around 10 or maybe 11 p.m. West Coast 3 hours earlier. I mean, are you kidding? You could actually go do something after a card if you lived out west. There's just so many benefits and no drawbacks to this plan. And before you write your comments about, well, I live in such and such place,
Parts unknown.
we have to stay up till 7 a.m. to watch fights. I don't care that you think I'm whining, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess that you wouldn't mind a 2-hour pushback either. It would mean the UK fans get to bed at a semi-decent time, not as the sun is rising. And it's not just about staying up late. Like, yes, we can all adjust to that, but it's about how exhausting these cards feel sometimes when they do run late.
You look like a dope fiend to me.
Like, I don't want to hope that Bruce Buffer speeds up his intro for the main event title fight because I feel like shit and just want to go to bed because it's so fucking late. Or in my specific instance, wanting the main event to hurry up so I can start the autopsy. I want to enjoy this stuff. I feel like a simple small change like this 2-hour shift would really benefit the enjoyment of fans, and it is a move I would totally make in 2025 if I was in charge. Number 2, more Sphere-like shows. I don't care what anybody says, the Sphere show was one of the coolest things the UFC has ever done. It was a spectacle on such an excessive scale that it's almost entirely impossible to justify. Like $20 million for a single event's background visuals is King Henry VIII shit, and I absolutely love it. I mean, you guys are raking in like nearly $2 billion a year, right? Then sign me up for more Sphere-like cards in 2025. And it doesn't have to be another show at the Sphere specifically, although that would be cool too, and I really do hope they do that in 2025. I just mean more themed and elaborate events like that. And not all the time, like I don't want every week to be a circus, but sparingly throughout the year, maybe like 5 times, let's do something super extra. Could be related to holidays if that's how they want to play it, could be some other theme, or just extra sauce put on top of what they already do. In 2025, I would love to see the UFC give their production from time to time that Sphere treatment to break up what is unquestionably a fantastic broadcast aesthetic regularly, but one that we're very much all used to now as fans. And give us a Halloween-themed event, you cowards. Number 1, a new rights deal. Here is one of the biggest and most game-changing moves that I would love to see the UFC make in 2025. And if I was in charge, it would be my number 1 priority. And I know it's the UFC's because this is their biggest revenue maker. Their rights deal is up this year, and while it's possible they could go back to ESPN, I have a much better idea. Live sports is massively hot right now, and every major streaming service is dying to get some sort of popular live sport on their platform. And while ESPN is a huge brand, ESPN Plus only has 26 million subscribers. Netflix literally has more than 10 times that. So if I'm the UFC, I want to get on Netflix more than anything, and exclusively. It would be a massive win for the promotion and great for the sport. Think about how many more people would be watching MMA if it was on that platform, if it was just sitting there on your homepage. I mean, 60 million people watched a senior citizen and a YouTuber have one of the most boring boxing matches I've ever seen in like 240p. UFC would be massive. And here's the real victory in how I would want to approach this. Since the UFC is in such high demand and Netflix badly wants live sports, my proposal would be this: buy us out of the pay-per-view business. That is what I would want. I'd tell Netflix, if I'm Endeavor, pay us so much for this rights deal that we can stream every pay-per-view for free on your platform. Or at the least, a massive discount, like $20 or something. It would be unquestionably the most popular the UFC has ever been, and it would be guaranteed money. No more forcing interim titles so you can try to sell more units they're already sold. This one isn't that far-fetched, to be honest, and it is my biggest hope for 2025. A big 2025 size shout out to our Hall of Fame members. Thank you guys so much. You made it a great year this year. Fight fans, hit the join button, become a member too, get exclusive content. You know you want to do it. Like and subscribe for all kinds of awesomeness next year. Leave a comment down below about what you would do with the UFC in 2025. And thank you so much for watching. Let's kick some ass this year.